All right, welcome everyone to the Lions finals of the Behes Online Round 8.0. We have with us two teams who are raring to go. Without any further ado, I would like to hand it over to our moderator for this debate, Ms. Benisha. And good luck to both the teams. First speaker of the proposition, you may begin. Benisha, please give them time warnings at 3 and 4 minutes respectively. Good luck.
Sure, Salil sir. So, Tusha, are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Go ahead.
Okay. Greetings, adjudicator, and to the House at large. We propose that privacy is a social ill. Throughout the course of the proposition's argument, we will wish to highlight privacy, and we define it at the social level before the individual level. We intend to discuss privacy at the macro, that is, societal and familial level first. Privacy at the familial and macro social level is a trait most commonly found in conservative societies. A social issue that describe a social ill as a problem that influences many citizens within a society. It's a common problem present in present day society and one that many people will strive to solve. It's often the consequence of factors which largely extend beyond an individual's control. Now, I will wish to establish how every conservative society innately tends to be much more private. Once you establish a highly private society, you ultimately have minimal social interaction, um, much less discussions about important topics that impact everyone's lives around you in your society and family. You tend to have less discussions about mental health, sexuality, stuff of the sort, which can greatly personally impact so many people. And if you tend to stop having discussions about such topics at a really large scale, it impacts everyone and has a much larger impact than above the individual level. Um, Throughout the course of our arguments, we will wish to establish how, as I stated, conserved and reclusive societies and communities are extremely private, and how ultimately it hampers development at the individual level because of such problems created at a macro social level. Thank you.
Okay, so now the next speaker from the opposition has 1 minute. Aryan, are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Go ahead.
Jackie Spears states privacy isn't negotiable. It is the fundamental right of every citizen. Good afternoon, one and all. I am Aryan Gupta and I am the first speaker from the opposition. And I strongly disagree with the fact that privacy is a social ill. How can we literally agree with the fact that privacy is a social ill? Because because practically thinking privacy is a social ill, so we should first think that how would it look if your own personal talks, your own personal data being breached and distributed with the people, maybe for free or for some cost. For a very basic example, I would like to state that whenever our banking cards or the SIM cards that we use in our phones get out of use, we always intend to tear them first in such a way that no one can ever use it further. Privacy is defined as a state of being alone and not watched or judged or disturbed by other people. If we're saying that privacy is a social ill, we should take into consideration that privacy protects those who may be vulnerable to exploitation. Think about the average child who might access the internet with or without their parents' permission, or might talk to people without the elders' permission. By enhancing the levels of internet or real life privacy, it becomes possible to protect those children from content or people that may be inappropriate for their age level. People who may wish to take advantage of them because of their age would be unable to do so because of their privacy measures that have been taken. Other vulnerable demographics, such as those with developmental disabilities or a mental illness, could also benefit from this advantage. Privacy directly encourages freedom of speech. When people know that what they are doing or what they are speaking, maybe over the internet or in the real life, then they know that if they're speaking anything sensible, that is not being judged on any criteria by anyone, and they know if that they can speak without any fear of being judged and criticized. Privacy privacy incorporates limit on power. Privacy is a limit on government power as well as the power of private sector companies. The more someone knows about us, the more power they can have over us. Personal data is used to make very important decisions in our life. Personal data can be used to affect our reputations, and it can be used to influence our decisions and shape our behavior. It can be used as a tool to exercise control over us. And in the wrong hands, personal data can be used to cause a great harm to anyone. How would you feel that if someone is interfering or is intervening into your own personal life and is getting to know directly that what you are doing in your own life, and it is the fear of everything? If we consider that privacy is a social ill, we are then giving the steering to the people who blackmail people, giving the threat that they will expose their any doings of theirs. And even we are exposing ourselves to kidnappers as we are exposing our own daily life, our daily schedules, and enabling the kidnappers to have an upper hand in the whole society. And that would be very fatal for the entire system, and we would be the only ones at the mistake for this entire process. It encourages innovation. In a world where people can learn about anything, whatever they want, a new idea can be quickly researched and tested to determine if there is any value contained in it, and without of the fear being judged and criticized. For a country like ours, we have identification documents like Aadhaar card or the passports, and if we are getting them renewed, we would always discard them or straight away burn them so that no one can get access to a personal information. Even if you're working online on the internet,
Aryan,
we would
I
always
would
try
like you
to
to please wrap up.
keep the personal information secretive so that we're in control of the privacy. So I rest my case, but not my cause.
The next speaker has 1 minute now. Yuvan, are you ready?
Yeah, am I audible?
Yeah, perfect. Uh,
Okay.
Please go ahead.
Yeah. Uh, Good afternoon, my respected opponents and the adjudicator. I would like to start by saying that the proposition aims to establish that privacy is a social ill at all other levels than the individual level. And what we mean to say is privacy hampers communication and conversations at the familial and the social level because of the nature of it. So privacy at the familial and macro social level is a trait which we can mostly see in conservative societies. And examples of that include reclusive Indian communities which have regressive practices. So basically, what I mean to say here is that the reclusive societies, and this is just an example, these reclusive societies uh, have privacy and things aren't even shared at the familiar level. So there isn't really any conversation, and that leads to a huge number of problems which are going to touch upon now. So in conservative societies, there aren't any discussions about sensitive topics like mental health, depression, sexuality, sexual harassment, feeling uncomfortable, and so on. And Obviously, if there aren't discussions about these sensitive topics which people might be facing problems with, it leads to a society where people aren't as open as they perhaps can be, and they aren't as free of mind. They can't discuss what is on their mind, and their feelings remain pented up inside them because they can't express themselves and talk their problems out. And I hardly need to explain why this situation isn't ideal. A society where people can't discuss their problems openly and nothing gets out and people keep to themselves, and that seems to be a huge problem considering the huge number of mental health problems and various other kind of issues I talked about earlier, and the number of problems we're facing today, right? And another problem which arises with privacy at the social level is other people won't extend a helping hand to someone who is in a problem because they'll try and respect your privacy. So it works both ways, and the problem is both ways. It's a double-edged sword, right? You can't People won't extend help because they'll try and respect your privacy, and the result we get is an extremely grim picture of a conservative society where people fall into a spiral depression and mental health issues since they can't open up and everyone keeps to themselves and they're trapped in their own headspace and they can't escape it. And moving on from the mental health aspect, my the previous speaker from the opponent team mentioned banks. Well, I have an excellent counter example for that. Extremely conservative Swiss banking laws lead to multiple fugitives harboring and laundering money in Swiss bank accounts, and that's simply because of the so-called privacy. People launder money into Swiss accounts because the government isn't given access to them, and so they're able to do their illicit practices successfully. And thus financially motivated privacy is another aspect where this privacy starts to create problems at various levels, including the macro social level. And with that, I rest my case. Thank you.
Okay, great. So the next speaker has 1 minute. Siddhant, are you ready?
Yes.
Great. You can go ahead.
Good evening, one and all present here today. I, Siddhant Durna, am representing my team, the Idealists, in the debate that privacy is a social ill, and I'll be playing the role of the devil's advocate. We are living in a developing and a continuously modernizing world where each one of us looks forward towards a free, a safe, and a secure future for ourselves and our lives. However, the society we are living in right now is not really that secure. That's why our team is here to put forward the point that privacy is not a social ill or a community problem, and is rather the way many things function in the world. Privacy is not a want in the world, it's a major necessity to the people. To keep personal things private to yourselves, and you have the choice that in what aspects you need privacy and in what aspects you would want to make public. Everything we see around us is actually private to ourselves. From small things like mail accounts, social media, to personal communication, and even secret electoral ballots for elections. Everything we see has a special secureness offered because privacy is needed in the world. In democratic countries like our own, even voting for elections happens in private, because they need to provide security and privacy to the voters. Moreover, obviously, you can't make everything public to the people. You can't tell about your personal lives. Personal data is important, and everyone in this society maintains significant privacy boundaries, both physical and emotional. I would like to question my opponents that would they feel comfortable by giving out all of their private data to others around you and even strangers? Obviously not. And just like that, you can't leak your private lives in a society like that. My opponent said that privacy is a problem at a macro social level, and she stated that it hampers the development of a nation. However, I beg to differ. If everyone leaks their personal lives, then there won't be any boundaries between the people of the nation in the world. What I mean to say is that if everyone is totally transparent about everything, that even the governments of countries would have to drop out essential secretive data that might be harmful or offensive against other nations, which could start wars, holy wars, etc. Another possibility comes in that people might start saying things about their personal grudges and discriminative stuff. This would call for civil wars, and there won't be any unity or trust inside the country. Many times, privacy is needed because of security issues. Many people need security because their life might be in grave dangers during specific situations. And in such cases, providing it is needed. Such a person can't go telling about where he lives, how much security he has, what he has done, etc. This is a major problem because thousands of influential lives are in danger every day, and such people need the privacy. My opponent said that you can't discuss things if there is privacy. But do you really want to discuss about private stuff to strangers and even your friends everywhere? And who gives guarantee that everyone will be supportive about this so-called system? To conclude, I would like to say that there won't be any balance of privacy boundaries between people, between government and people, and between different nations, leading to lack of trust and unity inside the country. With this, I would rest my case but not my cause. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Siddhant. The next speaker has 1 minute. Madhav, are you ready?
Yes, I am.
Great. Go ahead.
Being the last speaker for the side proposition, I intend to conclude our arguments and offer whatever rebuttals I can to all the formal arguments proposed by side opposition. I intend to do so by first establishing my initial rebuttal, that being that the side opposition, refuses to differentiate between things such as financial security, personal security, and a social ill. They repeatedly state leaking bank statements and credit cards, which I believe to be foolish activities and genuine foolish mistakes. They compare those to privacy and fail to establish the connection between that and the prevention of a social ill. They also stated that privacy abuses the exploited, where that remains to be a clear false idea. There have been multiple reports and simple sociological principles dictate that victims of abuses, victims of mental health, victims of exploitation need conversation. They need support. They need people to come out and in favor of them. And therefore,
Okay, I guess there is a technical glitch from Madhav. If any one of you can follow up with him.
Yeah, we're doing that.
Yeah.
He's in the waiting room for the meeting.
Yeah, he says he's in the waiting room.
Okay, just give me a sec. Salil sir,
I just let him in? I already did. He'll join you in a minute.
Yeah, I think he's here.
Uh, yeah, will I be allowed to continue as I left?
Yeah, please go ahead.
All right, thank you. Could you give me a cue as to what was the last thing the house heard? Till what point was I audible? Um,
What you can do is
Adjudicator?
like we'll give you like a 30-second grace, and you can pick up from wherever you remember. And yeah, it's not your fault. You will feel
All right,
like.
thank you. Thank you. All right. Okay. Side opposition stated that privacy abuses the exploited. And as I was stating, privacy abuses the exploited, whereas the inverse is true. An extremely conservative society which tend to be private are the ones that face the highest amounts of exploitation, the lowest amounts of rape cases that occur and then are not reported. And therefore we can assume with the utmost confidence that people who suffer exploitation, people who go through mental health troubles, do not need privacy. What they need is conversation. And as we said, we define privacy at the familial and macro social level. A decrease in a certain amount of privacy at these levels helps the exploited, helps those that are challenged with mental health issues. The argument of the opposition relies on extreme examples. There are examples such as children viewing improper content on the internet, children being kidnapped and leaking bank statements in mass quantities. These aren't examples of everyday privacy, these are areas. So I intend to conclusively prove that our argument remains superior as we successfully establish the connection between social ills, privacy, whereas the opposition's connections remain tenuous at best, rely on extreme examples which we do not see as definitions of everyday privacy and the definition assumed by the House as defined by the first member of the proposition. With that, I rest my case. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Madhav. The next speaker has 1 minute. Uh, the last speaker, is it
Ma'am, am I audible?
great? Abhiraj, Adil sir, are you with the timer?
Yeah, so the last speaker from proposition T, if I'm not wrong.
Yes.
Opposition.
It is rightly said that in a world where
Just a
everyone.
second, Abhiraj sir.
Yes, ma'am.
The last speaker from opposition sir.
Opposition.
Yes, sir.
Cool. Yeah, you may
Please
begin
go
now.
ahead.
Thank you, sir. It is rightly said that in a world where everyone is overexposed, the best thing you can do is maintain your mystery. Good afternoon, one and all. Today, I, Abhiraj Sharma, is going to speak on the topic privacy is a social ill. I'm going to play the devil's advocate today. I strongly believe privacy is not a social ill. I repeat, privacy is not a social ill. Privacy is the state of being free from the attention of the public. First of all, I would like to take example from Daniel Solway's research. He's the founder of the company Teach Privacy and has studied a lot in it. His study suggests less privacy and extrovert behavior results in the limit on power. His study says the more someone knows about us, the more power they can have over us. Personal data can be used to affect our reputations as well as it can be used as a tool to influence our decisions and shape our behavior. It can be used as a tool to exercise control over us. And in the wrong hands, personal data can be used to cause us great harm. I repeat, in the wrong hands, personal data can be used to cause us great harm and give rise to crimes like hacking. Furthermore, privacy is more about respecting individuals. If a person has a reasonable desire to keep something private, it is utterly disgusting of us to ignore that person's wish without a compelling reason. Now, I believe privacy is the key of freedom of thought. A watchful eye over everything we read or watch can chill us from exploring ideas out of the mainstream. An important reason why privacy matters because you don't have to explain or justify yourself. We may do a lot of things which if judged from afar by others lacking complete knowledge or understanding may seem odd or embarrassing or even worse. It can be a heavy burden if we constantly have to wonder how everything we will be perceived by others and have to be ready to explain ourselves. As the saying goes, a private life is a happy life. My opponent said we should be open towards ourselves, we should be open towards others. She suggests that it is okay to not have privacy. I repeat, she said that it is okay to not have privacy. I beg to differ because I believe the decisions we make us define us. My opponent said that the victims of social exploitation need help, but say that the leaking privacy data would lead to more social exploitation, and moreover people won't really be comfortable with discussing such private stuff with people. Privacy is power. What people don't know, they can ruin it. In the end, I'm here not to challenge you but to give my insight on the topic. I rest my case but not my cause. Thank you.
Right, guys. Congratulations to both the teams. You will get to know what the results are at the closing ceremony, which Adil, if I'm not wrong, is at 5:15. Correct? Okay, Adil is frozen. He's in Himachal Pradesh, guys. So he has a better life than any of us at the moment. Good luck. I hope the results favor you. They will be at 5:15 p.m. on YouTube. All right. See you guys. Bye bye.